Good evening, my beauties. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello. I'm just going to take a moment before calling you up one at a time. So give me a few minutes, guys. Sit pretty in the viewing box for me whilst we have a few more come on. Hello. Good evening, beauties. I'm just taking a few more seconds just to warm us in and see that the other guest speakers will arrive shortly. And hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you? So guys, welcome to Free Flowing Thoughts and welcome to the first episode of Soul Talk with Silver. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different. Hey Serenity. I'm just waiting for, here you go. Excellent. I love to hear when someone is feeling good. I'm just going to take a few more moments to wait for a couple other guest speakers to pull up on the live. But in the meanwhile, I'll just be reiterating throughout the night what today's show is about as more people potentially join. Yeah. Thank you for the love hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So guys, tonight's show is a little bit different. Every week, I guess, is a little bit different. Tonight is about Soul Talk of Silver on Free Flowing Thoughts. And Soul Talk of Silver, let me brief you a little bit of what inspired me to do this particular show today. Usually, guest speakers come up with their own topic and I navigate with them throughout the evening. And I have guest speakers have their own promo videos. But today, I thought I'd come up with my own topic for once in the last year. And have my own promo video. And the reason why is I'll brief you a little bit. Every week I do two live shows a week, Wednesday and Friday, and I watch back every single live show I do. Even if it's 3 hours long, I watch it back straight after the live. And my motive for doing this is so that I can continue to value my guest speakers, look at my progress, look at how I navigate through lives, look at how I can either improve as a talk host or simply accept my own style of how I navigate through conversations. And I was watching back live last week's show as hi, and I was watching, hi Anne-Marie. And I was watching back last week's show. For those who just joined, I'm just sharing why I decided to do Soul Talk with Silver today, something a little different. So I was watching back last week's show whilst I had the guest speaker, Tammy, the spiritual life coach. And I was watching myself, actually. And I thought to myself, how well you look, put together. And what that meant was I reflected on, but how was I feeling? And moments before coming on that live, I was having sharp pains in my chest. I was having stomach ache. I was on a emotional roller coaster for days. I was experiencing just low vibrations on and off for the last 2-3 months. Low vibrations can be interpreted as depressive. I was having anxiety sometimes, but I was thinking how well I looked. And it wasn't that I put on an intentional mask, but even though we all have filters, you go through your day, you go to work, we all have a filter and get through life sometimes. But I was really reflecting on what I was experiencing and the reflection of within the last month, my grandmother had died, my auntie had died, my friend had died, and my brother died 2 weeks ago. And you couldn't tell by looking at me. disclaimer, I didn't have a personal relationship with my grandmother, and I wasn't particularly close to my brother, but it was just a reflection of total roller coaster, including my own personal life. That's a whole nother Jerry Springer show. But yet Silver looked so well put together, I thought, and the whole point of that is put together. But how was I feeling on a soul perspective? And that was the truth I wanted to bring today with you, because I really am about sharing myself with you. It's not about asking you to convey who you are while I pretend to be perfect, because no, I had all that going on. And there's many shows that I'm here and you wouldn't know that I'm that close to cancelling, but I carry on. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think it's time you have a soul talk. And that means asking people to come on whilst we just have a moment of sharing soul evoking stories, or something that is evoking you, something you may be going through or have been through that you want to share on a soulful perspective, as opposed to how we look, but how do we feel. So I've shared a little bit with you about how I've been feeling, and I'm going to watch back this live today and see how I feel about what I've just shared with you. And that's really important that I tell you why I wanted to have Soul Talk with Silver and come up with a concept of just vibing on a soulful perspective today. So today it seems to be ladies' night. So I did, it's open for all, but so far 3 guest speakers happen to be women. If there's anyone watching this, and I'll reiterate through the night, that would like to jump on after the guest speakers who has reserved their space, please feel free to stick around, jump on the live and last minute and share a story with me, share an experience with me, and let me know what you're going through or have gone through. So how does that sound, guys? Can I have some hearts so I know that you are connecting with me right now on a soul level? Or should I send you some hearts so I can show you that I would like to vibe with you on a soul level? Here you go. Yeah. So, and hi Becky, how you doing? Nice of you to join me. So guys, today, thank you for the love. Yeah, it's important. It's important, I think. Thank you, Anne-Marie. It's important. And thank you, Adina. It's important that we could just be ourselves and not always feel the need to live up to social media or people's expectation of who they think we are. Because according to the world, they don't think I go for anything. But that's the whole point, is what happens beneath the mask. What happens when I take off, my collection of hats and makeup, and what am I really feeling and sitting with. So this is what this conversation's about. Thank you, Becky. So first guest up today, we have Pauline Gilman. Pauline, would you like to put in a request, or shall I come get you? Let me see if I can come get you. No, I'm not able to get you. Can you press that pink banner that you see, and I'll accept you on this side. Pauline Gilman, are you there? Let me see if I can I go get you? Let me see. I've just gone to get you. Miss Griffith, hi. Thank you for joining. Hello, lovely. Hello. Guys, welcome back. Pauline was on my erotic poetry night and it was crazy, but hey, we'll spare them tonight. So thank you for joining me on your first talk and not poetry night on Free Flame Thoughts. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So before we get into your actual topic, I'm just going to warm us in a little bit. Is that all right? About just sharing a little bit about who you are. Is that fine? Yeah? Excellent. So tell me a little bit about how you spent your day leading up to your talk this evening. How have you been? How have you been feeling?
Well, I was prepping this morning. I read. Yeah, I read. I'm generally keeping myself positive, and calm and looking forward to tonight because I know it's going to be really special.
Oh, yeah.
And authentic.
Wonderful. Allow me to thank you in advance for sharing your soul with us. That's what it's all about. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
They say, I read something that said your gift is your superpower. So maybe on another show we can talk about what that is. For me, it's soul connectivity with people. That is my personal superpower and gift. I think.
Thank you.
I think. So, Pauline, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well,
who are you
my name is
soul? Who are you?
Okay, well, my name is Pauline. Well, my name is Pauline Gilman. My married name is Gilman, but since the book has come out, well, before the book came out, I wanted to honour my father, Hanson. You know, since he died 6 years ago, so I wanted my dad's name in there.
Okay.
So hence, Hanson Gilman, the author, the mother of 3 boys now, men. The eldest one is 34. Yeah, 34 this time. The middle one is 20. Oh, pure big men. 26.
Wow.
And the youngest one is 23, going to be 24. And I have a grandson who's 6 years old.
Oh, wow. That's a little bit about who you are as a soul. And where was Pauline born?
Pauline was born in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica.
Oh, really?
I know.
Really? I've never thought that, Pauline. Really?
Yeah. I can't sustain a whole conversation. And when I listen to my cousins in Jamaica and even my cousins over here, that they speak really, really quickly. So
wow.
I could never.
You were born
in
cards. That's shocking.
I
never would have thought that. You've been over here for a long time, clearly, girl. Yeah. So your origin is Jamaican. Yeah. Wow.
I'm a St. Elizabeth girl.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about what you were like as a child.
Well, I came here when I was 3 years old with my mother and my sister. I'll share this little bit with you because now it's so nice when you can sit down with your parents, well, my mother now, and share stories. And she said that when we came over here, we flew into, because we flew on a plane, it wasn't a ship, you know. And she said she had my sister, my middle sister, on her hip. And she had me, you know, walking, holding her hand, and I was screaming blue murder. She doesn't not use the word blue murder because she's a Christian woman, you know, but I was screaming. And when I got to the, you know, the elevator, is it the elevator? Yeah, the moving staircase. And she said I was screaming, and I was saying, "Mommy, me no want go out there. Mommy, me no want go out there."
Oh, wow. You actually had a Jamaican accent. That's shocking.
Yeah. And
where's it gone?
I've been here too long. And she said it was this nice white lady that came and helped her and said, "Would you like me to help you?"
Wow.
And she helped me, calm me down, get me on the stairs, and then we went off to meet my father.
Wow.
Yeah. So we got here, and as a child, my mum says I've got a hot foot. She'll say, you know, the Jamaicans say, you love your drop foot. You know, I'm a dancer, and that's never ever left me. When we had Christmas parties and stuff like that, me as a 6-year-old, I'm in the middle, all these adults, I'm in the middle dropping foot.
Wow, you're surprising me tonight. That's amazing.
Yeah, so you know what, I've always been a smiler. I get that from my mum. And I'm always kind and, well, I say I'm kind and considerate, you know. Yeah, but I was a shy child at the same time. So I think when I was dancing and all that, I think it was hiding it must be hiding something else, you know. And I never used to consider myself pretty or anything. Like, in fact, I thought I was ugly.
Yeah, me too. I never saw myself as pretty as a child. No, I think I went through an ugly stage.
Yeah. Especially when my youngest sister was born. There's 11 years between us, And all you know what these Western, well, black people are like, oh, the little red skin one, yes, oh, she's pretty, pretty, pretty. And obviously, I've got my grandmother's complexion, that, you know, the reddy, that, you know. So then I felt kind of pushed out.
Oh.
You know, I was like daddy's girl then, but then it was kind of like all the attention was focused on my sister, you know, and so, and then obviously at school I got bullied, so I used my personality because I thought I was ugly.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? Thank you for sharing elements of who you were as a child, and that's quite touching. Thank you. Shall we go on to you guys, just for the public record viewers information, should I say? Tonight we're doing Soul Talk. We're going to have different guests on one at a time, sharing their experiences. For those who haven't reserved the space, please feel free to stick around, and you can jump on after the guests and speak about whatever soul evoking experience you going through or have gone through. Yeah, and maybe a little bit later I can reiterate why I decided to do this talk tonight. So Pauline, share with us the topic that you've chosen to discuss tonight with us.
Yeah, before I start that topic, I'll just say I've got the John the Baptist look, the lockdown look.
The lockdown look, is that what it's called?
John the John the Baptist look.
That's all right. No, you're fine. Remember I said you just come as you are, so I literally come with I feel, whatever I feel like putting on or whatever. So don't worry, we ain't watching that, girl. John the Baptist, you welcome, girl. Get into
it. Okay, yeah. So the subject the story and the little bit of journey I'm going to share with you tonight, everyone, is my cancer journey. Yeah, and forgive me if I start crying, people, because it's still pretty emotional, even though it happened how many years ago.
Yeah.
So how it started off, it was in 1991. And I started feeling pains when I used to go to work, because I used to work for the West Yorkshire Probation Service. And I used to sit at the desk, and then all of a sudden my hand would go.
Wow.
And it was really, 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 really painful, to the point that I was in tears. And this carried on. So I ended up going to the doctors, and they prescribed quinine. I don't know if anyone.
Yeah, my mom talks about that. That can affect your hearing. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So he prescribed that, and it didn't really work. But I was so energized and up for the wedding the following year, you know. I just tried to carry on, you know, the best way I could, really. So I carried on with these pains in my hand, and it was slowly getting more and, you know, increasingly worse. And, you know, I remember my colleagues used to come in. I literally had tears in my eyes. Are you all right? Are you all right? And I'm talking about these pains. At that time, it was just pains. It was just like spasms like that. You know, I got married in 92. Yeah, in 29th of August. And because I was so pumped up, as you are, you know, when you're getting married or whatever, these occasions, you get really pumped up, the adrenaline's flowing. Didn't really have time to think about what was going on with my hand. So we then relocated down to Swindon, and it got progressively worse. My blood pressure was skyrocketing. I had my oldest son, he was 6 at the time. You know, I had him. My ex-husband, he was in the military, the RAF. I then got pregnant in 93, and it accelerated it even more.
Wow.
The backache. I was in and out of hospital, and whereas the first birth was beautiful, I could walk around, it was just beautiful. It wasn't like that the second time around. I was strapped up, and I stayed in, I think I was in hospital for about 2 weeks. I left hospital, and because of that, my back was hurting, my neck was hurting, but I didn't marry the two up. I was a mum. I had a job to do. I had to carry on. My husband was working. I had to carry on, you know. And then the years come. I'm thinking that the doctors are taking me seriously. I found out later on, but that's another story, you know. So then what happened in 95, we relocated to Bristol. I was losing weight, the pain's getting more and more, and I couldn't piece them together. I didn't know what was going on. I then got pregnant in 96, and it was horrendous. It was so horrendous, Silver. I was on cocodamol from when I was 4 months pregnant.
And that's a scary painkiller. That really makes you feel like you're just spaced out.
Yeah. And I still had to carry on. I still had 2 children.
Wow.
I still had 2 children. My ex-husband was now working at HMP Hallfield in Bristol. I still had to carry on with the pain and everything like that. I used to sit in bed and my neck was really, I couldn't understand why my neck was hurting and my back was hurting. Now, my youngest son, when he was born, he was only 6 pounds something. If you see him now, you wouldn't think so, you know. And to push him out, now, ladies, not men, because you haven't been through the labour.
Yeah, what do you know, man?
When you know, pushing that child out, what he was doing, my youngest son, obviously he was pressed on, you know, your lumbar region. And obviously, that was affected. I remember as he was coming through the birth canal, I screamed, and he was only 6 pounds something. I screamed. And then he slept for 2 weeks. And you know what? The cheeky midwife, she said, "Are you sure you got your dates right?" And I looked at her and I thought, I'm 29 years old, not a 14-year-old schoolgirl, you know. I thought that was so out of order, to be honest with you, saying that. Married woman, 3 children, and she's asking me, "Oh, please, give it a break. Give me a break."
You felt that she lacked empathy, perhaps, yeah? Or understanding at the very least.
Because he's just slept, and obviously I understand, obviously, it would have been in the system, and I felt guilty for years. I felt guilty for years for taking this drug while I was carrying him, you know. I managed to get home, and it was just, the pain just increasingly got worse. I managed to get a little job, thinking that, maybe my mental health might improve if I get a job. I remember working at Asda, and I was the golden greeter. Yeah, I was the golden greeter. But because it involves standing up, as you can imagine, it's your back and your spine. The pain was horrendous. I had to end up sitting down because I couldn't take the pain. I was going to the doctors all the time, and I thought they were treating me with respect and dignity. They were not. They thought I was crackers. They thought I was a hypochondriac, and they thought I was psychosomatic. And I only found that out, Silver, because through the notes later on in the years when I left Bristol, they threatened to take me off their list because I'd gone in and caused the scene. I was crying. I was begging them.
So allow me just to interject, just for clarification. So the pains and symptoms you were experiencing, they doubted it because they did not detect what the issue really was. So they thought that you were just imagining and having phantom issues.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. Even though I was complaining of my hand because it was progressively getting worse.
Was it easing up your?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It became clawed in the end. So this is God's work that it's like this now.
Wow.
You know,
okay.
And my neck and my back pain, you know. And then what happened is, I remember one day. We were invited to a wedding, and I was trying a pair of trousers on. Now, it's my left side that's affected by this tumour, and for everyone, it's an inflammatory astrocytoma. So I call it an astrocytoma because it's a bit of a mouthful, you know. My left side is affected. I noticed that my thigh, that it wasn't bulked out like my right side.
Wow.
It wasn't bulked out. It was kind of like this gap, muscle wastage.
Wow.
I didn't know that. And I could not piece together. I knew there was something wrong, but I didn't know what was wrong. I did not know what was
You were
wrong.
saying you discovered it in your notes. Sorry, that what they... Tell us a bit about the notes that you came across.
Well, what happened when we relocated back to... Well, my ex-husband's from London, but we came back up here to my family's from Yorkshire. And when I'd been for a scan, and obviously they diagnosed that it was a spinal cord tumor, you know, I then started investigating,
Right.
and I went higher, and I got my medical notes. And when I looked at my medical notes, Silver, I cried.
Oh.
Because in there, the doctor, I know I can't, I know legally speaking, I can't name the doctor for, I think I can't name him. Yeah, I don't know, but we won't, out of respect, we won't name him. I thought this man was treating me with empathy, with respect. You know, he understood me. He was taking me seriously. When I read the notes, he said she's a hypochondriac.
Oh
she's
my
psychosomatic.
God.
We're going to take her off our list because she's becoming a nuisance.
No, he actually said that.
It's in my notes. And because it's in my notes, as you can imagine, your medical file follows you everywhere. It follows you everywhere. So when we came up here, came back up here, and we signed on to the doctors, I could never understand when I was going to the doctors why they wasn't taking me seriously. In fact, I got a few more little jobs up here, and they never used to last long. And I went to the doctors and I said, I'm in pain, I'm in pain. And he poo-pooed it, so to speak. And then he said, oh, do you expect me to sign off for life? And I thought, I beg your pardon. Wow. And then what he then did, he did the pinprick, and I couldn't feel anything.
Where did he do that? Was that in your spine?
On my feet. No, he did it on my feet.
Wow.
And I couldn't feel anything. And the other thing as well is that after I delivered Darius, the youngest one, your pelvic region, all that, it went numb.
Wow, my goodness.
Obviously, that's a nerve damage. That's a nerve damage. Yeah. So yeah, and I thought, I walked away and I thought, what am I supposed to do here? I mean, they want me to carry on working. I'm trying my best to work as best as I can, supporting my ex-husband, or supporting my husband at the time. My children, they need their mum. You know, I don't want to be saying that I'm not fit for work, but I'm trying my best. And a doctor's coming out and saying that. You know, it was so destroying. And the nail in the coffin was, I got the job that I really, really liked at a doctor's surgery. And that was 2001. And because my hand, again, was becoming like that, I couldn't type properly. Wow. I couldn't, you know, you're getting your files out. I couldn't do things properly. I was off ill for about 6 weeks. In between that, I'd had the scan. And when I went back for my update, they said, we don't want you anymore. We don't want you.
So allow me to ask you, Pauline, did you ever consider having a second opinion?
No, because you know what? My ex-husband was in the medical field.
And his advice to you was what?
He wasn't very supportive. And I've come a long way, Silver. I've come a long way not to have bitterness. Not to have bitterness. And I try and understand why he was feeling the way he was feeling. And maybe he couldn't cope with it.
Did you ever ask him? Did you ever ask him why he lacked that support and empathy for you during the course of that time?
What he used to do is he used to bury his head in the sand. And so if I asked any questions, he said, oh, you're not feeling well. So I never got very far with him. The empathy wasn't there. It just wasn't there. Now, I think looking back, maybe he thought the 17-year-old girl that he had met, and she was doing all these things, and then he's ending up with a woman that's
unwell. What about family and friends at that time of your life? Did anybody support you through this stage, or?
My family, my mum, she couldn't cope with it. My mum couldn't cope with it. She's a Christian woman, but she's had traumas in her life, and I understand now why she was the way that she was. But my family, they tried to support me the best way they could. But I think they saw, because I was my married woman, they thought my husband was, my ex-husband, he was in the medical field, so they were expecting him to be doing
And
How did,
yeah, and I remember.
I was going to ask you, how did going through that stage, being married, sounds like, you know, when we say you can be in a relationship but feel quite lonely, did you feel like you are technically married but you felt alone?
Oh yes,
Mm.
because when I met him, I was in, I was head over heels in love with this gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
He opened his mouth. I never, he had this, I never heard a black person speak like that before in real life, because he, you know, very, very well spoken gentleman. And
Plum spoken man, yeah, gent.
yeah, and I just fell head over heels in, I thought, well, I've never heard that in Huddersfield, you know, and I just fell head over heels in love. And I think it was the way he was. I thought, oh, so someone's going to love me, you know, like you get a little dolly and you handle that dolly like,
Oh,
yeah, you know. I thought, oh, and I would say about the relationship, before we got married, we were best of friends. I would say we were best of friends.
perfect,
I had my bestie, my female bestie,
perfect.
you know. But when we got married, I expected him to shift, but we still remained like friends. So on reflection, we were really good friends, but I would say he wasn't a very good husband.
That, you know, it's funny you should
So
say that because I said to someone only yesterday that it's a beautiful thing when you start off as friends, but sometimes you go so far into friendship, there is no romance. There isn't. So there's a balance of how far you keep this friend zone thing when you are nurturing something new. Mm.
yeah, yeah,
There's
definitely,
no
definitely.
chemistry for you. Mm.
No, no. As I said, we used to have a laugh, but he was quite happy for me to be, as long as I were doing things,
Mm.
everything was hunky dory.
Mm.
I can see a few of my people on here. Hi, everyone.
How long were you married
But
for, may I ask, to your first husband?
sorry.
How long did the
So,
marriage last?
well, okay, I will give you from the start to finish. I met him in 1987.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, I didn't. No, it was 1983. I met him in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
I had my eldest son in 87. The the guillotine dropped. The guillotine dropped 2012.
Mm.
So that is a long, long time. I think it's 30 years. And the thing about it, I was saying to my friend, hi, from America. I was saying that it's weird how it's worked out, because the my youngest son is born on the same day of my wedding day.
Oh, wow. Your
And
first wedding day.
yeah,
Oh, God, that's
Mr. Hall
a
hasn't
memory, isn't it?
started himself out
Mm.
yet. Yeah, so that was on the 29th of August. But then the weird thing about it is, so that's a marriage and a birth on the same day.
Wow.
But the oddest thing about it is the divorce, the decree absolute, and the book launch was on the same day as well.
That's
On the
extraordinary.
29th.
Pauline, what I'd ask you to do, if you would like, is to tell us a little bit more about, if you would like, your journey with the cancer. And as everyone's going to take an opportunity to come on one at a time after the other, please, if you guys feel like by the time I've kind of closed the first talk or your talk and you'd like to express some more, please stick around. Just keep coming back on and off. So you're welcome. My time is your time tonight. So give us a little bit more, Pauline, before we close your first part of the discussion today about how, you mentioned about, them not really taking your symptoms seriously. You've got your medical notes. Tell us a little bit more about that before we go on to somebody else and you return.
Oh, wow. Okay. So what happened is that I went to see a physiotherapist, NHS physiotherapist, and I was cataloguing to her all the symptoms that I was feeling. And she said, there's something not quite right here. Then what she did, she fast-tracked me through to various different consultants. So I saw the rheumatologist. He checked me out. He said, no, it wasn't his bag. He referred me on to neurologists. They're the ones that did the MRI scan, the first MRI scan, where I knew definitely that there was something wrong, because the length of time I was in that
Wow.
tunnel for. the length of time, and because they put a contrast in as well, I knew there was something wrong with Silver. I just knew there was something wrong. I felt it, but they never said anything. And then what he did, no, what they told me is that if you don't hear anything within 2 weeks, get in contact with him. I never heard anything, got in contact with him, the neurologist. He said, nothing to worry about, nothing to worry. I'm just going to refer you on to a neurosurgeon. Hello, neurosurgeon? Hello? You know, and went to see a neurosurgeon, and yeah, my life.
You got the results, you know, in that moment that you had cancer.
They couldn't define what type of cancer it was. What they did, it wasn't until another year later when they actually did a massive operation. So they had me on my back. They opened me up, because back in them days it was open back surgery. I've got a 16-inch scar down my back. And they went as far as they could with the debulking, but they didn't go any further because they thought that maybe it would leave paralyzed and I'm to give up. So they didn't want that. And in fact, my neurosurgeon, Mr. Phillips, he said that you've been dealt a triple whammy, because the length of time that I suffered for 9 years, and the effects that I had from that, and then I had the surgery, because that put more pressure on. I didn't think that people could feel so much pain.
So let me clarify. Sorry, Pauline. Did you have 9 years of pain before the surgery?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
So
I was suffering for 9 years.
And you had this
from 91.
Did they remove all the cancer after that via the surgery?
No, they ended up I had to have 6 weeks of radiotherapy on top of that, which left me even worse, because my right side was then affected by that.
Wow.
It's tremendous.
Wow. So how long has it been now since from, you know, we're in 2021 now. When did you have the surgery? Remind me, how many years has it been?
2002.
Okay.
2002.
And how are you now?
Yeah. Well, as you can see, I'm a smiler, right? And I hold no bitterness, because I'm still here by the grace of God to tell my tale. And there was a purpose. There was a purpose for me to still be here. But what I do suffer with is chronic pain.
Okay.
I know when you look at me, you know, these hidden disabilities, you won't be able to tell. You know?
Where are you experiencing the pain? Is it still your back, your hands? Where is the pain now?
I have it in my thoracic region, because it was from cervical right down to my thoracic region. I have it in my back, because you know your lats, they can go like the spasm.
Yeah.
My feet, I feel as if I'm walking on a bouncy castle.
Wow.
Because it's pins and needles all the time, and sometimes the left time you think, oh, praise the Lord, you know, but then it just goes back, you know. And then my leg, you know, the only part that's not affected really is my here. Yeah. Everywhere else, all the way down is affected. You know, I have shooting pains down the arms. So I'm a real catalogue of new.
You know, I'm listening to you, and some of the symptoms I experienced. I had an MRR 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did you? Oh, well, you definitely need to.
With the shooting pains, did your finger sometimes erratically spasm by itself or anything like that?
It does. It does, yeah. And that's coming from the neck. It's a pressure. There might be some compression on the neck.
I'll share very quickly before we wrap your part up. I had a fall many years ago. I was in the loft, and the loft collapsed with me, and I fell through. And and I fell through, and I never, other than regular bumps and stuff and scratches at the time and severe pain at the time, that was it. And years later, I get like a lot of kind of tension cramps in my legs. So I do a lot of full body stretching when I'm inspired to. But over the years, I get a lot of like tension from my neck going down my shoulder, shooting pains down my arms, and my finger was spasmed. So it's been years of dealing with that, and now going for another MRR 2 weeks ago. And they said that I have like my cords in my spine is flat, but I do alternative, which is I go to the Chinese, and they told me that a long time ago, before the doctors told me that about my spine. But I'm keeping an eye on it. They're not seeming like it's anything major, but I have gone A&E relentless times because the pain is crazy.
You have to, because it can just accelerate. It can just accelerate, you know, because with myself moving up here, it started off benign, and then I don't know when it became malignant. I will never know that. But that's why you have to keep an eye on these
Definitely.
things.
Have you considered alternative at all? Alternative Chinese specialists? I don't know. Have you thought about anything else other than traditional, the westernized doctors?
I went to see a Chinese herbalist back in the day, but I think how I deal with it, because I've got a high threshold of pain in the weekend. You know, I when I'm really, really bad, I put music on because I love my music, and I will fling myself up through just anything that makes my brain free.
Relief.
You know, from
stress.
release from the pain. And all these are good strategies and coping mechanisms. You know, I'm coping with the pain every single day, you know, but...
Oh, my goodness. Pauline, thank you for sharing your story. It's so, time can escape us so quickly. So what we're going to do is, again, thank you for sharing your story. Please stick around, because I would love you to, if you have the time, to just hear other people's testimonies and experiences and stories, and feel free to come back on, and maybe you guys, 3 of you, can be on at one time, whatever you like. Apparently Instagram can now have triple screens that I didn't know about. But for now, thank you for sharing the first part of your journey. We appreciate you. And of course, we wish you all the best with your happy healing.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Namaste. Thank you. Stay with us. And Serenity, you're up next. And Nancy, hold tight, please. Thank you. Feel free to exit yourself, and we'll bring in Serenity next. Thank you, Pauline. Hi guys, before I bring on Serenity, let me read some comments on behalf of Pauline. Oh wow, let me see. Hello from America, Kizzy. Let's go down and see who's with us. And I'm gonna send back some waves. Oh, every time I bring the comments up, they seem to escape me. Let me do that slowly. Okay. Saeed, thank you for your initial greeting. I'm going to send back a wave. And spoken word, how you doing, my brother? Let's go. Let me see. Send another way to Miss Griffiths. And hi, G. Greetings, Mr. Jules. Enough love to you too. And what's going on, Mr. Barrett? Yes. Okay, so Serenity, are you ready? You're up next. Tonight, guys, is Soul Talk with Silva. So if you have an experience or still experiencing something that is soul evoking to you, please feel free to join the live. Let me see. Let's bring Serenity. Serenity, are you with us? Hey, she's coming. She's coming. Hello, lovely.
Hey.
Hi, Serenity.
Hi.
You are looking lush today. How are you?
Thank you. So I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Serenity, share a bit with us about how you spent your day leading up to this talk tonight.
So today I've been working on music, and I've been with my babies, and yeah, just general mum stuff really, and just doing a bit of business planning as well. So just all of that.
And for those who don't know, Serenity was also on my poetry show that we done, the 3-hour marathon poetry show. Was it about 2-3 weeks ago? But it's your first time doing an actual talk with me, yeah?
Yes.
So welcome. Serenity, let's get into a little bit about who you are as a soul, if that's all right. Tell us a little bit about who you are as a soul.
So me, I am a mother of 2. I have a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old little, well, she's nearly 2, little girl. I'm a spoken word artist, a poet. I am a singer. I rap a little bit.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm into natural way of living, you know, like, so I'm trying to bring that into business as well. So
that's
yeah,
amazing.
that's a little bit about me.
Tell us a little bit about, okay, where were you born? Let's get into that next, actually. Where were you born? Where are you from?
I was born here, born and raised in Huddersfield. So I say here, nobody knows. I was born and raised in Huddersfield, England.
And that's your origin? Your folks are English? From England, sorry?
Yeah, so my parents were born in England, but my dad's parents were born in Jamaica, and my mum's parents were born in Cameroon.
Okay.
Small island.
Cameroon, did you say?
Cameroon.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah. And what was you like as a child? Brief us a little bit. Let's go back a little bit. Serenity as a little girl.
Oh, my mind's blocked out a bit of a lot of my childhood, to be honest. But I was quite confident most of the time. Very vibrant, very bubbly. You know, always wanted to do like fun, and like dancing was always what I was going to do. Dancing, singing. I had like a list of things I wanted to be when I was older: dancer, singer, actor, model, like the whole thing, fashion designer. And that was like what I was always like into. So yeah, I was just like a really bubbly kid. Okay. And I loved my food.
And you loved your food, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that intro with us. So tell us, what is a topic today that you'd like to share with us on a soul perspective?
So my topic is self-respect, self-love, and basically like giving too much to other people and not giving enough to ourselves. And also giving too much to ourselves and not enough outwards. You know, you can give all that self-love and all that self-respect, but if you're not putting it outwards, it's nothing.
So we're talking about the equilibrium, the balance. Okay, so let's get into it. What inspired you to do this topic today, Serenity?
My personal experience with it, and some experiences I've been having lately as well, with friends, relationships, situationships, and family as well. Yeah.
Where would you like to start?
I feel like
let's get into the juice. Let's start with relationships and situationships. Girl, what's going on? Tell Auntie Phil everything.
Okay, so I've been one of those people that's given too much in relationships, and like I've had a fair few situations that I was intending to be a bit more. You know, I'm a love person. I'm a Pisces, so you know, I go out
the Pisces
love. And
can I just say disclaimer? I'm not massive on star signs, but I will say that females are different to males. It's like I'm a female Taurus. The men are not the same. Yeah, for example, I'm generous. I find Taurus men quite tight, quite mean. And I'd say the Pisces women not the same as the men. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is that relationship with male.
Yeah. Yeah, so go ahead, Miss Pisces.
Yeah, so even like my last relationship was a Pisces male actually, so I totally understand what you're saying on that. And like being a Pisces like female, I'm a very loving person. I'm very like empathic, and you know, I feel a lot what other people are feeling, and so you know, I absorb it like around me and stuff. But at the same time, because I'm so much searching for that, like, well, especially more so in my teenage years, I was searching for love so much. I was happy to just give whatever they wanted, and you know, even if they didn't necessarily ask for it. Yeah.
I was asking.
So
asking you. You said you would give whatever they wanted. What was it they wanted from you?
Oh, sorry. So the sex mainly was like the biggest thing. You know, being quite a sexual being and quite open about it. I'm very confident and comfortable in my sexuality. Like there's like a bit of a blurred line. Like sometimes, like when you're growing up, you know, trying to figure out who you are and stuff, and like, being a person that's so sure of myself, it got kind of confusing because in that shorty, I was like very insecure as well about certain things, and because I was giving so much and not getting enough, like especially in relationships, like I'd give, you know, like I'd sleep with, you know, certain people, it's just because I thought it would get to something more, like I thought it would be, you know, something real. But that's it. It's about self-respect and self-love, because when I look back, I didn't respect myself enough. I wasn't, you know, meeting the requirements of my requirements, basically. So
that's, you know, I appreciate every talk I have with each individual, but on a personal reflective level, I do appreciate people, both male and female, that speak from this. And the reason why is it does take an awful lot of courage, self-awareness and transparency to not only admit these things to self in private, but to externalize that publicly is massive. Massive. I'll just relate and with you. There are so many. Let's talk about, I have a feeling that this is obviously psychodynamic, as in counseling term, which means from the past, basically shaping who we are in the here and now. And when and those of you who may know someone, may have experienced it, you know, throw some hearts up with this if you can relate to this. You don't get to a certain age and give too much of yourself just because you just like to love. Love is a beautiful thing, but sometimes that desperation to love so much, or to receive love, or someone that just loves so deeply, sometimes it's still that child within that craves to be accepted in affection and love. And we are still am I right? Yeah. Sometimes it is that little girl. I mean, little boys, as you know, boys resonate emotions very differently. You hurt them once, it's a wrap for you. Yeah. You know, girls forgiving sometimes. But I'm not saying that, you know, either gender, we both have our flaws, but it is that feeling of externalizing sexuality, especially from young, with boys in hope just to be loved. And they're not even thinking of love from those ages. So you just go from one body count to another, just not understanding why you're not being accepted or loved all the way through. You know, it's painful, I'm sure. Yeah?
Yeah, well, I'm so sorry. I've just got a knock at the door.
No, please go and return. This is real life. That's why it's not a podcast. It's real life lives. So we just maneuver accordingly. Guys, in the midst of Serenity's absence, let me know so far what you're thinking of this you know, live talk. It's the second live guest up. Throw up some hearts. Let me know what's good. Is there anyone on this live that may want to talk? I know Nancy, if you're there, send me a heart. You're up next. Thank you. But if there's anyone watching that does want to come and do a talk after Serenity and after Nancy, you are welcome. Just let me know. You okay? Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. So tell me a bit more about that giving of self and loving so deeply, and where that comes from with you.
A lot of it for me was like trauma based. So I've had like a lot of experiences like from young. So
are you willing to share some of that trauma?
Yeah. Why?
First of all, if you just look at me, Serenity, we know that we're on a live, but in this moment, you and I are purely soul connecting, and we are just slightly blanking out the viewers' opinions in this moment. And I'd like to invite you into a space of pure transparency, no judgment, and trust, and feel free to flow. That's it. When you share by choice, it's empowering. You're not sharing from a weak perspective. You're sharing by choice. It's empowering, and somebody will watch this back and be like, wow, I needed to hear that, or someone else has experienced this. So I just would like to encourage you and let you know that you are right now very empowering and extremely courageous.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so I've had, I was abused like when I was young, and you know, like a few times throughout my childhood, and like I feel like it definitely changed like who I was and who I became. Like I feel like naturally I am a very sexual person, and I love that about myself. But I feel a lot of it does come from trauma. So like now I'm at an age where I'm gonna figure out how much of it comes from trauma and how much I'm willing to accept and feel comfortable with. But for me, like, I did have a lot of experiences long before I was ready.
Are we talking about
and
child? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it was confusing, because then there was times where, I chose, like, when I was young, but not as a child, like, pre-teens, like, and then, as I came into my teens, I started to, be more sexual, and I was still looking for love. I was still searching for that thing, but like I was doing it in the wrong way because I didn't know what I was doing. I thought, just give them what they want, or what I thought they wanted. It wasn't even necessarily what they wanted, and like sometimes a lot of the time guys test just like women do, like guys will test you, and, if you give it up, well, okay, they're getting what they want, but anyway, they want something more than that. They're not going to look for you, and that's not what they're interested in. They want something more, and that's what I wanted as well. So, like I said, I wasn't meeting the requirements of my requirements because I didn't know what that was. Like, I thought I did, but I wasn't. I didn't know how to love myself and respect myself because I hadn't been shown what I was properly. Like, I had by like family, friends, but in that regard, when it came to sex and like relationships, it was just it was like a lot of the time it was forced on me. So it got to a point where I didn't want to be forced anymore. So I just gave, and yeah.
May I ask, and I know it's case sensitive, this conversation, may I ask, did you tell anyone whilst you were young or what was happening to you?
No, so like, well, like I said, like at the start, like I said, I've blocked a lot of my childhood out. Like, a lot of that is because of trauma. Like, I genuinely have forgotten a lot of stuff. But like, when I was 14, one of the people that like, had done it to me when I was younger, did it again, and it was kind of like a confusing situation because I'd forgotten throughout those years. Like, it was just like a nightmare to me. It just kind of, I don't know how the situation kind of like, it basically, I didn't believe it. I just thought, okay, well, it was a nightmare. Let's just forget about that and act cool. So, it happened again. That's when everything kind of like came back. So I didn't really remember throughout most until I was like 14, and then that's when slowly memories started coming in, and I was like, whoa, oh wow, I didn't remember about that. And
did you tell anyone?
And then
did you tell?
I did it to other people. Yeah, like my family do know, and I've got a song about it that's really deep, but it's it's like kind of thing that people need to hear, but like it's not for everyone's ears. It's not like the kind of thing you want to hear on the radio necessarily, but it explains because so many people have been through that same thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not the only one. Obviously,
did you ever seek to report this person, or did it not escalate to that point?
Well, there was a few different people, but the first one, I did report him, but because it had taken so long, years, and then like when I was 14 months, they didn't really do anything. They had my phone for like 2 years, for like what's the word, evidence, and they did nothing with it. But I mean, it is what it is because he was a child the first time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not excusing any behaviour, but it's like getting to understand why people do things is important as well. Like, and I have to question why he was thinking that way at that age.
May I ask you, has from very early before the hearing now, did any of those experiences distort your view on boys and how you saw boys, or how when you're young and you see a grown man, maybe as a relative or a friend, and how you view men or boys, did it distort you for a period of time at all, or blur?
Yeah, but I got into a lot of inappropriate relationships. Like, no, I say a lot.
What does that mean?
Like a few, but like, so like older people.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
because that's how it altered it for me. Like I was, you know, I just became, for me, like some people become less attracted to men and boys and feel like, oh my God, I don't want to. For me, it was, well, I may as well just embrace it because I've you know, this is what's happening to me. So this is my life. This is who I am. This is my experience.
So did sexuality,
I'll just roll with it.
okay, so did sexuality, as you progressed a little bit older, turn into an expression as opposed to a feeling, as you said? Because this I'm very aware of when I speak to especially young people as well, where they externalize, the sex has become just almost mechanical. It's not really internal anymore because that's just what they've become used to. Yeah, so therefore the sexual act is just, it's almost like numbing yourself out and it's becoming a, does that make sense?
Yeah, for me, I feel like there was elements of that, but because naturally I am a sexual person anyways, I feel like all this trauma and all that other side of it, it just
Heightened it.
like, what's the word? Heightened,
That's what I meant,
heightened who I am. So like, I am very like comfortable being this, you know, but like it like I didn't really, I never really felt like, oh, I don't really enjoy it. So that's why it was easy for me to just give it up, even when I didn't want to. Like I found ways to enjoy it even when I didn't enjoy it, if you know what I mean. And my body always, my body usually enjoyed it even when my mind didn't, is what I mean. So sometimes there was elements of what you're saying, but then sometimes, usually it was just a case of this is an experience, do you know what I mean? So even if it's only afterwards usually where I feel like, oh, do you know what I mean?
So what age did you get to that point of the awareness of, you know, I'm aware of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and where it's kind of history of where it's coming from? What age did you get? What age were you when that realization took place? Roughly, was you late teens, were you early 20s, you know?
I feel like it's been mainly like this past year when I've really, since my first child actually, so the past 4 years, where it's kicked in even more because I had to just get on with it and I had to, you know what I mean? And so I didn't really have time to kind of embrace those parts of myself. I was a mum, so I kind of had a lot more time to reflect. But then, like my second, my daughter's dad's actually was actually my first. So it was like I had to really go back into self-reflection all over again, and that was like a whole different thing, because then there was a lot of like trauma built into that situation because I wasn't ready at that point. So I don't know if I answered your question actually. Sorry, I just
no, that's okay. Actually, no, because I want you to flow. What I asked you was, you know, when you did answer actually, I was asking, when did that personal awareness start? Because, you know, we go through life, and guys, I'm going to put this towards the viewers as well. If you went through something this morning, it wouldn't stop you from going to work necessarily unless you were seriously traumatized, and you'd get on with your whole day, but you may not feel what you've gone through because you are mechanical. You're getting through the day, you wake up, brush your teeth, have breakfast, shower, and you're mechanical. And it hasn't been a moment for you to pause, stop, and process. Yeah, it's a bit like, I don't know, if you're rushing around, you bump your toe. Yeah, or maybe you bump your arm. Let's be more realistic. With the toe, you feel it automatically. Let's say you bump your arm, you don't really, but then later on, you're like, where did that bruise come from? Yeah, a toe bump, you feel it instantly. A kind of a slight knock and seeing a bruise, you may not even remember where it came from because you haven't had any time or made time to process where that came from. So, and sometimes it's totally blanked out, but that awareness sometimes comes, especially when you have children.
Yeah.
And the reason why I was told this from a relative, that she said once she had their daughter, she looked at her daughter and realized that was the age she was when her mother gave her up. It never dawned on her. She was going through life fine, but having the child triggered so much. So what I was asking you was, which you pretty much, you know, tried to answer, is when did that awareness come of, you know, I'm giving myself, but this is the reasons why, you know, and this is what I'm searching for, and this is what I haven't got from it, but I'm still giving. You know, and I don't ask for it. I don't. it's a beautiful thing to love, but when we're giving so much of ourselves and it's not being valued, then we kind of feel like we're not valuing self, and it can be very painful and very vacant.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like for me, like this last year in particular has been the year where I've really done the most like soul searching and self-reflection and like realization about myself and about my own toxic traits, because even if you're the victim, you can still contribute toxic traits to that situation. Like just allowing yourself to be in that situation, because there's situations like in regards to this where that I could have got myself out of, and like situations where that was borderline, you know, rape. I'll just say it, like it was borderline because I put myself in that situation, and you know, like there were parts of me that did want it, even if I said, you know, no and whatever. It's like such a thin line, because you know, like I say no, but then I'm still like showing that I want it.
Were you afraid that this is a very important part, guys? And I guess some men would look at this, and I feel like we need to fine tune that just out of the reproduction of what can happen from what we just said. So in one way, you're saying I kind of wanted it, even though I said no. And this is where men and young boys get blurred. This is exactly the point of where they get blurred. And well, she said yes, and I didn't really know when to stop. And this is so important that we fine tune this in this moment, at least for you. So in one breath, are you saying you wanted to be sexual, but was it the fact of how he was taking it and pursuing is what you didn't want?
So, like when I talk about that, I'm talking about like a different situation to the times when I didn't want it at all, and it was taken from me. So like those times where I was in a confused state and I was in my teenage years, and you know, like I would say, like, you know, those times when I did say no, but if they carried on trying to, you know,
talk you around,
like, you know, it wasn't that hard. Then at certain points,
but you wasn't saying no.
To get that.
You wasn't saying no whilst they were on you. That's the important part.
But, yes, so there was even times when I would say no, but then I'd carry on. And for me, it's a very blurred line. There's certain situations where I couldn't say it was definitely they. Do you know what I mean? Because I know the parts that I played to confuse them as well, like unintentionally, because I was so confused myself. So it's like, and a lot of it was from trauma, because I was actually scared, and it's like, it's weird because there was parts of me that actually did want it in those moments as well with some of the people, but I didn't want it because I wanted to love myself more. And that's why I'm saying about this self-love and self-respect, because I didn't love myself enough or respect myself enough to just follow through with no and just be true to what I wanted. I was giving into temptation and giving into them instead of just being true to myself.
Tell us a little bit about, and this is kind of like a difficult question now, but it really is for other people also to help unwind what they may be feeling and have felt. And before I talk about why I practice celibacy quite often, or have done in the past, what is it like, in your perspective, if you can put it into words, to want that yearning so much, but at the same time never really receiving the particular type of love that you are looking for?
It's like, it's exhausting, and it's like, I don't know, it's like, for me, I'm all about love, so as much as it was hard to go through those things, I'd always just come back and want more love. Like, I could just get more of it. And it was never like a case of it brought me down to the, you know, I always had hope. I always knew, like when you asked me before how it made me feel men and whatnot, I always just thought there's better out there, there's more out there, and it's better, but I didn't realise that in order to get better I had to be better to myself. And like I've done it again, I forgot the question.
It's fine. It's, you know, the questions is not, this is like Chit Chat with Silva. It's all about self-connectivity. It doesn't matter whether you specifically answer or not, because it's about you sharing your journey in your way. Me, you know, arrowing the questions is primarily to help navigate more and just to excel more in the conversation. So don't even worry about that. Is there any other particular part about the giving too much, and the, you know, I guess the not valuing of self enough, as you were saying, that you would like to add before I give another example on this?
Yeah, on a different perspective in terms of like friends and family, I had to kind of like lately, this past like year, I've realised that I can give too much in just like to my family and my friends, and allow people to speak to me a certain way. Like I give off a bit of a, I can be too nice sometimes, and sometimes my family might not think the same. They might think, but that's because it's like, it seems like 0 to 100. Sometimes it is, but it builds up because I don't really like confrontation so much.
Do you find it difficult to say no to family and friends?
Yeah, like, well, I used to, not now. Like I'm so sorry. Somebody else is knocking at my door.
That's all right. Hey, what's going on in your house tonight, girls? Are you having a party you didn't invite me to?
No, I'm not having a party. I'm not
Go
having a
ahead
party.
real quick. I'm about to wind down your part. Whilst Serenity's popped off, Nancy, are you on the live? Just let me know if you're still here, so I can then disconnect this live and also come back on a part 2, as Instagram has limited time for the lives. So Nancy, please just throw up a heart. Let me know if you are still here, or if you're here, because I've not seen you so far on the live. You are? Is that you, Nancy? Okay, excellent. So when Serenity returns, we're going, hi, Nancy, thank you. Thank you for holding tight. People's talks have gone a little bit longer than anticipated, but thank you for riding with me. Down. Serenity, are you there?
Yeah.
Do you want to sit back a little bit for me so we can see your face entirely?
Yeah.
As we wind down your, I can't, there you go. So listen, Instagram gives us a certain amount of time, and we're going on to an hour and a half already. So would you like to kind of wind down your part, and please stay with us. And I'm going to have next guest speaker, which is Nancy, and these are the 3 individuals who's reserved their conversational space today, for which means you guys can come back after Nancy. You guys can come back freely, and anyone watching this live who hasn't reserved a place can still come up as well and share their stories. So do you want to say any last words before we disconnect with you for the first part?
So I don't have much time, but I'll just like quickly say, like, it does extend to, like, you know, friends and family, and just in terms of how people speak to you, how people treat you, and even like, I feel like a lot of the times it's personal. So how we treat others and how people treat us, it's a personal thing usually. And like, so for the people like around, like my friends and family, they're on their own journey as well. So I've had to put certain boundaries in place with everybody around me and myself, you know, in order to get what I want, like, from the people around me, in terms of, like, you know, love and respect.
100%.
And I've been really working on being that myself as well. Like, so I've been really trying to work on, like, being more loving, more patient, more calm, and just trying to just, you know, and like when people have hurt me and stuff, I've, like, there's people from my past that I've really trying to, like, you know, speak to and connect with, and just trying to be that love to them that I want them to be for the world, not just to me. And just, yeah, just trying to raise it.
It's not easy, is it? Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much for having the courage to share a massive and very personal part of your journey. I hope that when you watch this live back, you have no regrets in sharing this. As many people get like, oh my God, but no, it's massive, it's encouraging. And I hope that anyone that will watch back the replay can see how courageous it was and is for you to share. Secondly, I would say the greatest thing that I done and continue to do when those moments arise, based on being a young girl I felt that didn't receive so much, you know, I grew up in a very, very, very safe environment. I'll say that, but I was one of those children that did desire, you know, affection, being told I love you and you can do anything. So I just didn't receive that. So how I interpreted it was, I'm not loved, but I was loved. I just didn't receive it in an affectionate way, typical Caribbean, yeah? Although I was looked after, taken care of very well. So for me, you know, you have that vacancy of looking for love in all the wrong places as a young person. But thankfully, I caught myself young enough to then go into a lot of practices of celibacy. I think I do love deeply. Very rarely, but deeply. you know. But what celibacy done for me, and maybe something you guys can consider, or maybe you can consider, is it's like fasting food. It's like having a fast. When you're fasting sexually, it really does bring you more in tune of your emotional spirituality, and you can't help but validate that massive part of you that you didn't even know existed. So celibacy for me over the years, and it's never too late if you know, if you're single long enough, or you may decide, I've done 4 years at a time, literally. And what it done for me, and I got great at dating myself. So even when I'm in a relationship, as I always say, I still date myself. Even when I'm in a locked, fully fledged relationship, and the man can see you are a bonus to how I deal with me, how I date with me, how I date me, how I buy myself flowers, how I take myself out to dinner, and the cinema, and spas, and travel, book apartments. That's how I date myself, and they feel like, where do I stand? That's how much I date myself, and that's what celibacy also encouraged me to be, is my best date, the best relationship with myself. You know, and sometimes I'm a rubbish date to myself. I'm, you know, a bad partner to myself, because we have those dips, don't you? But I'd like to leave you with that thought of, you know, celibacy maybe sometimes, if it works for you, fasting of that whole, you know, and maybe just saying, you know what, till I'm in a locked-in relationship, I'm not giving anything of myself. Yeah.
That's where I've done celibacy, and it is,
and just what you do, that perfect spouse you're looking for, we just become it for ourselves. And Serenity dates herself. Peace and love. If you can, stick around, and you're welcome to come back. You are loved. Thank you so much, Serenity. Peace and love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Guys, I'm going to shut down this part 1, and we're going to return back on the part 2. Before I do, quickly, let me see some comments, because Instagram is so mean, it doesn't let you keep the comments. So Crystal says, no judgment, only love. When Serenity comes on, life experience. How you doing, Miss Griffith? I totally understand this. Miss Griffith relates. And Miss Griffith, you also say, hang on, I call that my trauma block. Yes, when Serenity speaks about not remembering, absolutely, it was necessary for my survival. Yes, yes. Adina, I love your bravery, Serenity. Absolutely. Adina is Miss Pauline Gilman, Serenity's cousin. And Crystal again says, that is deep. Her body enjoyed, hang on, her body enjoyed it even when her mind didn't. Yeah, deep. Also, you go on to say, that line touched me. Yeah, absolutely. And Nancy, you are here. And lastly, Miss Griffith says, because I ain't about to make anybody my everything, because I'm, what's that? Excluding me. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, let's click off, click back on, and we're going to see Nancy. You're up next.